Welcome to Leominster Access Television and Neighborhood Snapshot. My name is Bob Sardelli. I am a member of the Leominster Historical Commission. Today's guest, Mr. Joseph A. Goodhue, Jr., will be familiar to many longtime residents of Leominster. He is a member of what has been referred to as the greatest generation. Those folks who were born prior to the Depression, who lived through the hard times of the Depression, and lived through the years of the Second World War. I contemplated for a long time in getting ready for this interview what to title this. I thought of Yankee Ingenuity, Entrepreneur Extraordinaire, Extraordinary Businessman. I thought of some sayings that I had heard that are familiar to you folks. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. The saying, a mayor I can, not a mayor I can't, a mayor I can, with the emphasis on the positive attitude. Success comes in cans, not can-nots. I finally settled on a recipe for success, and I think as we get into the interview, you'll see the connection. And I also thought of one that really applies to Joe, a good Joe, a really good Joe. He's a very, very nice fellow, and a very, very interesting gentleman, as you will see. Joe will look familiar to a number of the members of the LATV audience. He was on a previous interview because he was a longtime Leominster businessman located downtown, and that was on the interview of Leominster Downtown with Bill Allen and Tom Bagley. I am sure that the audience, the LATV audience, through this interview, will jog the memory of many of the longtime residents of Leominster, and you will recall memories of Leominster's past. And all of us, I think, will learn new things about the city's history. So welcome, Joe. Welcome.
Thank you, Bob.
Joe, we're going to, and I know that you were an amazing fellow. You just recently, you had a serious operation, and just within the last 2 weeks, and here you are today, and you're a tough guy. Very, very nice gentleman, too. I've gotten to know Joe. We've had a number of conversations, and he is a really, really fine gentleman. We're going to, first of all, Joe, going to give some biographical information.
I'd say, first of all, I want to thank the doctors.
For all their...
That's why I'm still here. Thanks for surgery, thanks for the medical doctors, thanks for the natural doctors, which I believe in quite an extent.
Also, so.
But best of all, I'm still here because of the good doctors I've been through, and through the mill, including open heart, surgery, a number of times. I don't want to name them all.
Well, God bless you, Joe.
Thank you.
As I said, the title of this program is Recipe for Success, and Joe didn't throw away Joe threw away hardly anything through his years of life, and he...
what they call a pack rat.
He allowed me to look through many of his items, and I came upon this, and this is a recipe, and Joe has lived his life with this recipe. It's a birthday recipe, a holiday recipe, but it applies to Joe's life, and I call it a recipe for success. 4 cups of love, 2 cups of loyalty, 3 cups of forgiveness, 1 cup of friendship, 5 spoons of hope, 2 spoons of tenderness, 4 quarts of faith, 1 barrel of laughter. And the directions are to take love and loyalty, mix it thoroughly with faith, blend it with tenderness, kindness, and understanding, sprinkle abundantly with laughter, bake it with sunshine, serve daily with generous helpings. And this describes Joe.
Thank you, Bob.
Joe, you were born in 1914, June 16th.
That's correct.
And where in Leominster were you born?
At the Leominster Hospital, which was on Blossom Street.
Blossom Street at that time.
Now an apartment building.
Okay, and where? Now you were the middle child. There were 4 children.
Right.
And we're going to talk about your siblings in a bit during the course of this interview, and at some length, because you wanted to make very sure, and I'm going to share this with the audience. Joe is he wanted to make sure that I mentioned at length his family, his brothers, who, by the way, Joe is 91, and his older brother William is still alive.
Right.
And his younger brother Charles is still alive. And
right.
They're all in their
90s.
In their 90s. And we'll show you a picture of them later on. Joe, where in Leominster, where was the family homestead in Leominster?
Appleton Place, right off of West Street.
And you had told me when we were discussing this that it was quite a place. There was a yard, and there were lots of kids playing in the neighborhood. And
yes. Well, my dad was physical director at the YMCA, especially his first years over in Beirut, Syria, introducing basketball to Syrians.
We're going to show some visuals of that shortly.
And our yard, we had a pole vaulting area, we had a jumping area, high jumping area, and we had a bar set up to do all kinds of calisthenics. And all the neighbors played around there, especially we had enough room for a football field. So we had a great time as kids.
And so the physical activity and the physical fitness was a big part of from the beginning.
Very much so.
And probably inherited from your dad, who has. We're going to show an amazing fact shortly about that. I'm going to show this picture at this point. This is a beautiful watercolor by your brother Charlie.
Yes.
Charles.
Yes.
Who's a very accomplished artist.
Very much so.
Very much so. And you are an artist, but not. I have to say, I've seen some of your work, and you are good, a lot better than I am.
No, I just play around with it.
Charlie is a better artist than you.
Something to do.
But this is a watercolor of a farm in Pennsylvania, and there's a strong connection to your family. Tell us something about this, Joe, please.
Yes, that's Mars, Pennsylvania, which is a little town about 25 miles from Pittsburgh. My grandfather's German, and he came over here and started a steel mill. And that's the farm he bought, which had a number of orchards on it, peach orchards, apple orchards, and cows, you name it. And unfortunately, I got hay fever, so I had a tough time living there, but every summer I went out there in spite of it all. And I enjoyed it very much so.
And there were...
It was all mud road, and it was all by wagons going downtown to church on Sunday, and sometimes the wheels stuck in the mud on the way down.
But a lot of fun, a lot of kids. On one of the pieces of information you had, there were tons of kids out there. Your relatives, I imagine, and all the...
All the relatives came there. Nothing to have 25 to 35 people to dinner every breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And there's a little pond down the bottom there where we used to go fishing, sort of a mud hole, but nice to go swimming in anyway.
It sounds like it was wonderful. We're going to put up on the computer an image that of the Horn and Supply Company, and you'll see the connection in a moment. I have something here. This is from Goodhue and Son, manufacturers of horn goods, horn knife handles, a specialty, Leominster, Mass., 46 Colburn Street, J.A. Goodhue manager, and it's Leominster, Mass., December 18th, 1908. Now, that was before you were born.
Yes.
But how many Joe Goodhues? You're Joseph A. Goodhue, Jr. This is, so...
Well, my grandfather was Joseph A.
Your grandfather was Joseph A.
Right. My father was Joseph A.
Joseph A.
And I became Junior.
And you became Junior. And this is a letter, the Goodhue Company, and I have...
Maybe you had.
I had, oh, I have them right here. This is, we're going to put up the Horn and Supply Company, if we can get that image up. This will be familiar to many Leominster residents, the location. It's no longer there, that particular building. Recently it was torn down, but when I was a kid, I grew up at 166 Central Street, and that building was still there. It was the Horn and Supply Company.
Right.
And then later on, it became the Goodhue Enterprises, and the boat place was your business.
Right.
And recently, it was torn down, and it is now the CVS. It's the corner of Central Street and Graham Street. But if we could get that picture up again for a moment, what I want to show is, if you look carefully to the left, there's a wagon, and there's a load of animal horns. There's a pile of animal horns to the right of the wagon. There are the workers outside for the photograph. This is from a glass negative originally, and there's even on the near the door on the right, beyond those workers, there's a pair of animal horns, the Horn and Supply Company. And I have a machete horn. I have a handle made out of animal horn.
Half a handle you have.
Half a handle. Now tell us about this, Joe, because this was made at the, your dad made these, manufactured these.
This is similar to molding, because what they did is heat up the horn. So it was almost like it was a banana oil. They heated it up enough so they could put it into a mold and shape it to that particular handle.
And this is one half of the handle, and then the other half would go, and then the blade was here. And these were machetes for the
machete handles.
Machete handles,
yeah,
for
cutting sugar cane.
In Cuba, I imagine?
Down in Cuba and southern countries.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And it was a very successful business.
It was.
And you even made some of these handles as a kid, right? You helped?
Yeah. I'll tell you, it's tough, hot work.
Tough, hot work. You didn't mind it, though, but you did it.
I didn't do it long.
Okay, and then now I have this item that you showed me. This is half a machete handle.
Correct.
And this put your dad out of business.
Yes, overnight.
Overnight. What's this stuff?
He had one customer, Collins Axe Company. That's the only customer he had.
That bought all the horn handles.
All of a sudden, Bakelite came in.
Bakelite, what's that? A form of plastic?
Bakelite, it's a plastic resin.
Plastic resin.
And as a result, the color appealed to everybody down south, and I don't blame them. You can find it a lot easier if you lose it in the sugarcane mess. So it's perfect.
So the horn couldn't be colored really easily, or could it? But this could. It's plastic. You can mix it with dyes and so on.
Right.
And it could be colored. So this put your dad out of business.
That's
About
correct.
what year, Joe?
That's correct.
But what year did that happen? The business reversal.
1934.
1934. Now that's in the midst of the Depression.
Yes, it is.
The Depression is going on. And
I was through it. I know what it is.
And you went through the Depression.
I remember my dad in 1929. He came home one day and he says, "The bank is closed. We lost all our money." And here's all I have left. And he opened up his pocketbook. I think there was probably $25 in the pocketbook. That's all he had to his name.
Now, one interesting thing, everything you said is interesting, but you used the word pocketbook, and that's I remember that. That's what people used to call the pocketbook.
Right.
You know, and literally they were, you know, the thing you could open.
Right.
You know, the men carried like a little. The pocketbook was literally you put your change and your money in there. The business reversal of the you know, the machete business kaput.
Kaput.
Okay. Your mom.
I want to inject for a moment. He also had a celluloid business. He made umbrella tips. He made bracelets, and he made combs, so forth. Part of the building is where he made those.
And these combs were all made of animal.
Some were made out of animals, some were made out of celluloid.
Celluloid.
Because celluloid is very flammable,
Right.
so you had to watch things very closely.
Explosions and fires
Right,
and so on.
right.
Speaking of your dad, if we could put up a picture of Joe's dad. This is Joe. I'm reading an obituary. This is J.A. Goodhue dies. Played basketball on the first SC Springfield College team. Let me read this. This is Boston, April 3rd. Joseph A. Goodhue, 71. That was your dad. A member of the first college basketball team at Springfield College, where the late Dr. James Naismith founded the game, passed away. He had been engaged, your dad, in the manufacturing novelties from horns and antlers at Leominster. After his graduation, your dad's graduation from Springfield, he taught physical education at Syrian Protestant College in Beirut, Syria. That's what it says. Would be the Beirut we call Lebanon now, I imagine.
Yeah.
The same one. He introduced basketball there in Beirut, Syria, and he supervised construction of that country's first cinder track. And he leaves his widow, your mom, 3 sons, and a daughter. He was a wonderful father, a great man, and we have another, I think, do we have another picture of, well, let's talk now a little bit about your mom. This is from 1967 when your mom retired, and we'll see the connection here. Do you ever wonder what became of Nora Goodhue, that was your mom, who ran the restaurant on Main Street, Goodhue's Restaurant, for 23 years? At the time, this is when at the time of her retirement. She said, she's talking about what she did in retirement. I spent the last winter in Florida, which you do now,
Yes.
and part of my time visiting with my children who are all married now, referring to you and your brothers and sister. I am enjoying life and certainly do not miss the restaurant business. That was hard work, she twinkled. I felt, and this is your mom's quote, I felt it necessary to go to work during the Depression in order to help financially. So your dad came home and said, we've got $25, right. That's it. Your mom said, I felt it necessary to go to work during the Depression in order to help financially so that my children, who were about college age, would be able to attend. My husband had always had his own business making horn handles for machetes. These handles were popular because they were easy to grasp and were made from cattle horns. They were used mostly on heavy-bladed knives as a tool for cutting sugarcane. Business came to an abrupt end, however, when the manufacturer of machetes decided to use plastic handles. I knew then that I would have to supplement our income, and the only thing I knew how to do was cook. It had to be something in this field. About this time, my son, Joe, was going with a girl whose mother ran a food exchange in another city. She had frequently asked me to bake her an angel sponge cake. This gave me the idea of starting my own exchange in the city, which I did in 1932. I opened a woman's exchange on Main Street, where the Federal Savings and Loan Bank is today. That's no longer there, I guess. Banks have changed so often. This is the way at the height of the Depression. This was, by the way, at the height of the Depression. I rented one half of the store from the late Winthrop Mayo at a very reasonable rate. I must confess that I wasn't making too much money at the time. However, with the aid of a salesman who came in the shop frequently, I located a store in Worcester on the corner of Highland Avenue, and I opened my own bakery there in 1935, but continued along with the Women's Exchange. And then she goes on and continues, my sturdy Yankee blood wouldn't let me give up. She smiled. She continued, so I got Alfred Paulson, who lived in Leominster, to do my baking in Worcester, and Joseph Murphy, whose home was in Clinton, was my baker in the Leominster store. Of course, we had a few rough weeks, but we stuck to it and stayed in business for 25 years. And a lot of your perseverance came from your mom.
Yes, it did. I had a wonderful mother and father, and I attribute that to all of us in the family that have done so well. We've had our ups and downs, like everybody else, going maybe bankrupt, not quite, but you work it out one way or another, and I did it.
You didn't quit. You never gave up.
You don't have to go bankrupt either. But I'll tell you, where you make your money is in land. And if, anybody young today, just buy land, because that's the only place I've found that you can make the kind of money to live on. I enjoy what I did. I didn't make any money at it, but I had a lot of fun, and that's the most important thing in life. Fun.
Fun. You had a lot of fun, but along with that fun, you had the work ethic.
Yes.
And one of the things, again, preparing for this program, I thought of that applies to you and to all of us, really, and your whole generation, that success comes. Let me get this exactly right. Success comes before work, and this, I wish I had thought of this. I wish this were original, but it's not. Success comes before work only in the dictionary. Success comes before work only in the dictionary. You have to work to succeed. And you really worked, and I see evidence of some of your work here. You were, when you were a little kid, this is a picture of a kid in knickers, a young boy in knickers, and it's the Ladies' Home Journal, is it? What's the journal?
Yes, I became distributor for the Kurdish Publishing Company. That published Saturday Evening Post,
Saturday Evening Post,
Ladies' Home Journal, and The Country Gentleman.
The Ladies' Home Journal.
Those magazines, right.
And all those three, are they all defunct now, all those magazines? The Saturday Evening Post, I don't know whether that...
I don't know.
I remember that magazine, but...
everything has a cycle to it.
It does. And
it sure does.
This is you.
That's me.
As a
hard
kid.
to believe.
All right, and there's your bicycle and your wagon, and you were an entrepreneur even then. You were a hardworking kid.
I used the bicycle, and I had the cart behind the bicycle, pulling it around with all the magazines in. Delivered all over the Leominster, actually.
Okay, and here's another evidence of your hard work. You became... in 1923, you became a Cub Scout, but you achieved eventually the rank of Eagle Scout.
Eagle Scout.
And this is your merit badge sash.
Right, right.
All right? And for those of you who don't know anything about scouting, Eagle Scout is the highest rank, and you really have to work to become an Eagle Scout.
By the way, I want to inject my older brother,
William,
who's 94, became an Eagle Scout at 14. And I didn't make it until I was 15.
all right. So, and you,
Could I talk about my older brother for a moment?
of course.
Okay, my older brother,
Before you do, I wanted to say, personal note, I was a scout. I made it to first class. That's not very high,
good.
and I only
Well-
think I maybe got 2 merit badges. So there's a lot of work involved in this,
yes,
Joe.
there is. Well, my older brother, I think he got all the brains in the family anyway. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. He graduated from high school with honors. He graduated from MIT with honors, and he's what they call an Edison Scholar, which back then they gave a scholarship to every state in the Union. And he was fortunate enough to become the honor of getting that for the state of Massachusetts. And he graduated from MIT with honors.
Wow.
He's an inventor. He loved to invent. And at the age of 94, he's still inventing. And his last one was a very successful one, which was, it's a little hard to describe on the TV, but it was the ductwork that's used in all the hotels and casinos and so forth. He designed a corner that puts 2 pieces of ductwork together automatically almost, so that it saves 2 people out of 5 when it comes to labor and tin whacking, so-called.
Installing the
ductwork
ductwork in these
together.
big buildings.
Right.
He designed that. He invented that.
And he's living on a wing in a prayer. He only has about 20% of his heart that's pumping, but he's a survivor so far. And I love him. He's great.
And speaking of your brother William, and the attitude in your family of hard work, here is a picture of your brother William at age what, Joe?
94.
94, and he was 94 when this...
94 when that happened.
When that happened, and he went hunting.
He lives in an area that they got too many deer, and the only people who can shoot are residents, as well as they don't shoot by a gun, they shoot by a bow and arrow. And he took a golf cart and designed it with camouflage, and sort of walked in his territory, pushed the cart in his territory, and he was sitting there, and all of a sudden he saw 2 deer go by. Well, they went by so fast he couldn't even get his bow up. So he was just relaxing again, and all of a sudden a big buck comes by, and my brother Bill gets up right into the deer and shot it dead.
He got the deer at age 94.
And they have to shoot a certain amount of deer, otherwise there are too many there and the cars hit them by mistake, not intentionally.
It happens around here too.
So that's part of saving lives as well.
Now your other brother, your younger brother, who is 90...
He's just 90.
Just 90, so he's
my
a
younger
kid.
brother, my younger brother Charles. I'll tell you a little story that he told me. He went in the Navy down in Providence, Rhode Island, Quonset Point. But he used to, when he graduated from college, he went to Pratt Institute as become an artist, and he worked for Davis Press in Worcester. When he worked for Davis Press, he had to take a bus from Leominster to Worcester every morning. Well, back then, they had a wonderful old gentleman with a mustache and a little beard. His name was Lots. Lotts, L-O-T-T-S, I believe. And he lived in Leominster here, and he used to push a big ash can and a broom, cleaning up, well, back then, a little bit of horse manure once in a while, and cleaning up the street. So Charlie got acquainted with him, and taking the bus, he had to wait sometimes quite a while, so they talked together, and they became very good friends. Anyhow, Charlie went down to Quonset Point and worked there for a while, doing lettering and so forth, hard work. And he was notified he was going to go overseas. So there were 12 of them. As a result of that, why, the commanding officer found out that Charlie was going overseas and said, "Charlie, you're not going." Charlie said, "Why?" He said, "I need you here for doing the lettering and so forth. Besides, you're a nice guy." Well, it turned out that Mr. Locke's son was instrumental in stopping Charlie from going overseas. Out of those 12 people, only one came back.
How things happen.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Eh,
But Charlie started his own business up in Rye, New Hampshire. All his customers were banks. He knew he'd get paid.
In the advertising?
In the advertising business.
Ran in advertising.
Right, right.
And we're going to show some of his work later on when we get into it, because he did work for you.
That'll be fine. Okay.
And here are the three brothers, right?
Right, right.
Joe is in.
Charlie.
Okay.
And Bill.
So you're in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
You're in the middle. It must have been, was it your birthday?
It was my birthday.
Your
yes.
birthday.
My 90th birthday.
And
yes.
this is Bill.
Right.
And this is Charlie.
Charlie's right. Charlie's right here. Joe's over here.
Joe's over here. Okay, so there's Joe.
Right.
That's you.
That's me.
That's you. And then in the middle is
Charles.
And
Bill.
Bill.
Right.
Okay. Joe, what? Now, your sister.
That's my sister.
Your sister who passed away.
She passed away, and
Now, what was her name?
her name was Catherine.
Catherine. And
That's my mother, a wonderful, wonderful mother.
Okay. So, now, Joe, getting back to you, you were we said you were a Boy Scout. I found it interesting that you're still here because you were the bugler at the camp, and usually you wake people, buglers, you know,
Yeah.
you managed to survive the camp,
Yeah,
being the bugler at Camp Winoxet
Camp Winoxet.
in New Hampshire.
Camp Winoxet was a wonderful Boy Scout camp. Ted Boodle was the director of the camp, and he had a son, I don't recall his first name, but very nice family. And back then, the executive did about everything. Today, it's a little bit different. Today, the executive has to raise money more than anything else. But my dad was instrumental in buying the camp. It was a big farmhouse up in
Camp Winoxet?
Camp Winoxet.
Your dad was instrumental in buying Camp Winoxet for the Boy Scouts, which is a wonderful, that's...
I think it was back in 1927.
Wow.
27. One thing I want to tell you about the camp, though, it's so nice. After siesta time, which is an hour, right after lunch, they had a big barrel of molasses, which supposed to give you a pep, I guess. Anyhow, and they had a lot of loaves of bread. And after our siesta, we always used to go and dip our bread in the molasses.
And eat the
To
molasses.
give us some more pep in the afternoon. I don't know, sometimes the Flyers took advantage of it. But
for one of your recollections.
it was real nice.
Scout
That's
camp.
one thing I recall anyway.
The memories.
And we all lived in tents. We didn't have cabins then.
At that time.
Tents, yeah. Once in a while I got thrown in the water being the buglist so that the horn didn't blow in the morning.
Then you went to Leominster. What elementary school did you go to?
I went to Field Primary.
Field Primary School.
Mrs. Lincoln was the
Yeah.
first grade teacher. She was a very, very nice teacher, and an area up there where she left her estate to.
I think it's Elizabeth Lincoln, and she became the assistant superintendent of elementary education in Leominster.
Yes.
And yes,
very nice lady.
Yes. She was one of your elementary school teachers. Then you went to the.
I went to junior high for the first year that the building was open to school, and I don't know what year it was. I know it was the 6th grade.
Okay, and then Leominster High, and we're going to show a photograph, if we can, of you in high school in your football uniform, and we'll talk a little bit about that. If we could get the football picture of Joe up. I think that's one of the ones that we scanned. Yes, this young fellow is you, Joe, and you were a running guard for the victorious football team of 1933. That was the undefeated. Tell us something about that.
Well, it was undefeated. We had, I think we played 10 games, and it was undefeated all the way. And we thought we were going to be sent to Florida for the winter to play down there, but nobody had any money to donate to our cause.
It was during the Depression.
Yes, it sure was.
And
one of the fellows
became state champs.
State
right?
champions.
State champions.
And Stip Bacusi was on our team. Rick Cavioli. You probably have a picture of some of the different.
I do. I have.
And I want to tell you, I played football in practice against a fellow by the name of Bill Lane that weighed 225 pounds. And it wasn't easy trying to push him around, I'll tell you that. But Bill Lane was a very successful businessman in town.
Yes, was that standard peroxide?
Standard peroxide, yes.
Well, I have in here somewhere, and I can't lay my hand on it right at the moment.
Well, I think you have to...
But wait. I have pictures of the football team. They're going to be. I'm going to show those. I plan to show those in the second part of our interview on another day. And I did run across one of your old football teammates recently.
Oh, did you?
Mr. Cavioli, Rick Cavioli.
Rick Cavioli, yes.
And I ran into him at the former Victory supermarket, the Hannaford supermarket now, and outside, and I had a nice little conversation with him. He's a very nice fellow, too. But in the next interview, we'll have all of those pictures of many of your teammates of the 1933 state championship team. Undefeated, untied.
Right.
Played at Doyle Field.
Yes.
At Doyle Field, which is now under reconstruction. Then, Joe, you went on, just before we go, in my search in this box, I do want to show these. We referred earlier in the interview to your dad at Springfield College being on the basketball team.
First
basketball team. And I'm going to put this up. I don't know whether it will be. Now, your dad is in this picture.
Yes, he is.
He is the coach of the team. And what is this team is?
That's in Beirut, Syria.
Beirut, Syria. And
Right.
as we said earlier, he introduced basketball and physical education over there.
Yes.
And you can see where you got your athletic ability and your interest. And I do want to show, and there is,
That's my dad,
that's your dad
as a businessman.
as a businessman. Joe, you graduated from high school, and then you went to Worcester Academy on a scholarship?
On a scholarship.
On a scholarship. Was it academic, football? What kind of a
Football.
football scholarship
Yeah, the tuition was $250,
for the whole
of
year?
which I couldn't pay. So,
That was during the Depression years.
right, I waited on table.
Okay. Then you went to Springfield College for a year.
Yes, I did.
And then, but you transferred in 1936, again, this is during the Depression, to the Wharton School of Business at
University of Pennsylvania.
University of Pennsylvania. And you were a busy fellow there. One of the things there, you busy all your life. This is the Punch Bowl. This is the magazine of the college, right?
Right, right.
And this is a Christmas issue, 20 cents, and it's in 1938, December 1938, and I look, and you were the photographic editor of
Yes, yes.
of
I had a
Punch
nice,
Bowl.
I had a nice camera. It was a Zeiss Super Icona B, which is a beautiful lens.
I saw that camera at your,
Yes, very, very
yeah.
nice. Very nice.
Aha, Eureka, I have found it. As I was looking through, you made me work for this interview, Joe. Here's your photograph, which was already up. This is your football photograph when you were a member, and I know we're jumping around here chronologically, but it'll all fit together. This is you, Joe, on the undefeated Leominster High team.
Right.
And I mentioned Mr. Cavioli, Rick Cavioli. Here's your teammate.
Right.
Here's Rick Cavioli.
Yes, sir. He was center.
He was the center.
Good center, too.
A very good center.
Right.
Okay. And we'll, on a subsequent interview, the second part, we'll show a number of your other teammates. Okay, Joe, you were in college. And
By the way, the tuition at University of Pennsylvania at the Wharton School was $500.
the Wharton School of Business at
Right.
Pennsylvania, you specialized, you then focused your preparation for your career in business.
That's true.
And it paid off.
Right. I got a scholarship down there.
How did
I
you...
ended up washing dishes in the women's dorm.
Okay, and
That helped pay the tuition.
you were a bellhop at some point too in your life. Now, where was that? Am I jumping ahead?
Yeah, that was in Boothbay Harbor, Maine. Spruce Lodge down there.
Was that to finance your
that
college?
was very, very early.
Early in the time.
I only worked from 5 o'clock in the morning until about 9:30 at night.
Only those hours. Now, Joe, what is this a picture of?
Well, that's my charming wife.
Okay, all right, this is you and your wife.
Right.
And what year would this have been, approximately?
Oh, probably 1950, 55.
In the 50s. So,
my wife, Kathleen.
Kathleen,
A
okay.
nice little Irish girl.
Okay, now tell us.
I'm a sort of partial to the Irish.
So you were married a number of years at this point.
Yes.
But where did you meet Kathleen? Where did you meet her?
Well, I don't know whether I tell that story or not.
Well, you don't have to tell that story.
Anyhow, my folks were very friendly with Dr. Baker, who was a preacher in the Baptist church in Leominster originally, and he was transferred to secretary of the Baptist church in New York City. And on my way down to Philadelphia, I used to stop there overnight, stay with them, which was on Riverside Drive in New York. Which that time was a beautiful area, right next to Graham's tomb. Anyhow, this particular day, I arrived and there was two lovely girls there, and the minister introduced me to the two of them, and he said, "I want you to meet the two most likely virgins in New York City." And one of them was Kathleen, who ended up being my wife.
Who became your wife.
Right.
What year did you marry, Joe?
1940.
1940.
Right.
Now, that's right, World War, right at the...
Just before the
Just
World War
before
II.
the war,
Right.
just before
Right.
World War II.
And in World War II, unfortunately, I was due to go in the Navy, but having a bleeding ulcer, matter of fact, two of them, they didn't want any part of me.
Right. So you did your part here on the home
So I
front,
did
as
my-
many people did,
That's
because the
correct.
war effort was, there were the soldiers in combat and so on, and the military in combat, but they had to be supported by people who worked here. Otherwise,
Right.
so they made this.
That's when my dad passed away, and I decided to stay right here. Although 1 year I worked for Campbell Soup.
That's what I want to mention something about that.
Which was in sales research for Campbell Soup.
As a matter of fact, I saw somewhere in the material, I have your, here it is. You worked for the Campbell Soups Company. You were a salesman. And here is your, Joe, you didn't throw very much away. Here's your business card. The Campbells. This is your life. Joseph A. Goodhue Jr. All right, Joseph A. Goodhue Jr., Campbell Soups. And you worked for Campbell Soups as a salesman.
As a sales researcher.
Sales researcher. And what did that involve?
That involved finding out whether we could sell pork and beans out in Kansas and South Dakota and so forth, or whether it has to be pork with tomato ketchup instead.
So using your business acumen and your experience and your training in college, you actually were doing the marketing research.
Right.
And that held you in good stead, because during the college years, you
well,
what is
Camp
this?
Tahoe is
Camp Tahoe. And let me read what this says. J. A. Goodhue Jr., Director, N. P. Latat, Assistant Director, K. Goodhue, Instructor. Now that would be your wife.
Oh, that's my daughter.
Your daughter.
My sister, I'm sorry.
Yes, your sister.
Right,
Okay.
my sister.
And what was and where was Camp Tahoe?
Camp Tahoe, I started, I believe, in 1935, mainly because I needed to raise some money to go to college. So my folks had a place on Speck Pond. My dad bought two camps down there. I think he paid $300 for one and $500 for the other, with about 100 feet of waterfront for each one. And seemed like a good place to teach swimming. So we had a dock down there which we used, and I used to pick up kids in Fitchburg and Leominster and take them down there, girls in the morning and boys in the afternoon.
What ages? 6 to...
Ages maximum 12 years of
12
age.
years old.
As I recall, there was a Tony Brockerman from Fitchburg, and there was Bobby Hadley from Leominster. And,
I saw the list. You still even have the lists of the campers.
Yes,
I don't have them here. I have, but elsewhere. But you.
yeah, I'd like to mention a few of their names.
Sure.
But we'll do that again,
Yeah.
I guess. Anyhow, very successful. We charged 50 cents to pick them up, bring them down, and take them back home. 50 cents
And they
per
had,
day.
And they had a wonderful camping experience.
That was actually a half a day.
And what one of the things that impressed me was way back then, the idea of your ability and creativity in marketing. This is something that is even timely today. This is a little brochure you had printed up.
Right.
And it's, I know the audience can't, I'll describe it to the audience. It's very, very well done. Nature's open door, and the brochure opens up as a door would, and 16,000 enjoyable hours, which would have been probably from the number of hours that kids, you totaled them all up, that they had spent in camp activities. And it's got photographs of things going on at Spec Pond: swimming, games, campcraft, and boating. And there's the very, very well done boating, swimming, the kids on the dock. This is the Woody. Is that the
Woody station wagon?
Woody station wagon, and you're picking up the kids and transporting them. Yes, 16,000 enjoyable hours were spent by boys and girls at Camp Tahoe last year. Summer and its freedom from the usual routine is the high spot of every boy or girl's year. He or she looks forward all during the winter months to vacation time. That hasn't changed. Then to enjoy the many opportunities provided by nature for his or her pleasure. Pleasure, though, can be made all the more enjoyable under supervision and guidance. Camp Tahoe, again on Spec Pond in Leominster, and there are some members of the LETV audience who are probably campers who will recall this, so we're jogging their memories. I had never heard of Camp Tahoe prior to meeting you. Camp Tahoe offers your boy or girl this much-needed opportunity. Designed for boys or girls between the ages of 6 and 14, this day camp, located by the crystal clear waters of Spec Pond, aims to supervise and instruct your child in swimming, games, diving, life-saving, and crafts. And there your scouting experience came into play also. Facilities for all these activities are excellent. Girls are instructed in the morning and boys in the afternoon. Rates $3 per week, 4 weeks for $11.75, or the season $29. How times have changed. Transportation provided free. A beach wagon will call somewhere in your neighborhood in both Fitchburg and Leominster. And then special individual instructions in swimming, junior and senior life saving, and so on. Supervision Director Joseph A. Goodhue Jr., Instructress Catherine Goodhue, your sister, Assistant Director Philip Mahan, and your sister was a registered nurse.
By the way, my brother has the printing business,
and
my younger brother was art director. So you can see where I got a brochure from.
Yeah, so I was going to ask about that. So it's kind of a family enterprise. So you've okay, all a cooperative effort. Lots and lots and lots and lots of family talent and creativity and ingenuity in this. Joe, we're coming near the end of today's session.
Okay.
Okay. But I do want to, we haven't gotten anywhere into, the next time when we pick it up, we're going to talk about, we've got, you're married, it's 1940, you leave the Campbell Soup Company, and you're going to come to Leominster, and you're going to help out your mom in the restaurant and bakery business. Just before we do, though, to show what kind of a guy you are, your loyalty is one of your traits. And you have been very, very loyal to your high school class through the years. You've attended the reunions. And I have here some photographs of the class of 1933. You have the class list. And here is one of your reunions. Here's the 45th reunion of your class. And then this was the most recent reunion of your high school class.
Right.
And
I must say that Neil Otasri was very instrumental in being sure we all had a class reunion.
Neilo, who was a member of your class and played on the football team.
Yes, he did.
Joe, we're going to conclude today's interview, this part of it, just as a little preview. The audience may be wondering why we have this model of a boat. This had a big part of your that played a big part in your life. And I'm going to hold this up, which will jog some memories. This is some of the, many of the people in Leominster will remember Goodhue's multi-purpose dough. We'll talk more about that next time. And we'll whet some appetites. Goodhue's fresh frozen pies, because I think you are a pioneer in the sense in
That's
the
good. That's good.
I didn't mean PIE pioneer, but you were a pioneer in the frozen.
Yes, back in the 40s.
In the 40s, in the industry. So, Joe, I thank you very much for today's interview. We will continue the next time. You are a good fellow, a good Joe.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Joe.